Welcome back, hobby friends. Peanut said goodbye to her favorite spot on the stairs. That was kind of a heartbreaking moment to get her to come down. But we moved from where we were. Now this is Heidi, as Heidi is waving goodbye from the front of her house. It was kind of a bittersweet moment there too. That was the last load of our many loads of U-Hauls. Luckily we had friends and family come out and help us, and those guys were just troopers. We would have never been able to do it without them. And now here we are. We're in the basement at the new place. And of course basements are basements, so Heidi's got to do some work here. And I got to do some, and that sounds funny too, right? I'll get myself in trouble if she heard me say it that way. But we both had to do some work in the basement getting it cleaned up, and I had my cousin come down and help me, and we patched the walls, and because a lot of the mortar and stuff was missing. So if you look in the walls, we got a lot of new mortar on the walls, but Heidi's kind of doing the final cleanup in the room where it's going to be my storage room. And let me tell you, if you move, that's when you realize, boy, you got way more stuff than you need to have. And so I definitely realized that, and packing it all into this room, I don't know if the video does it justice, but it's a very large room. It's like 20 some feet long by probably 15 or 16 feet wide, and yeah, it, as you can see here, fills up pretty quick. And so that was kind of fun getting it all packed in there. But the difference here between here and the older house is that I got to put this in kind of aisles, so now I can just walk up and down the aisles and kind of find what I want, where before I had to unpack a whole room to get to it. So that was definitely a thing different than now, which is way nicer now. And enough of that, now on to the project. So this is the project for the day. I set up my 40K table to just kind of get an idea of, I shouldn't say my 40K table, I have several different layouts as you guys have seen in the different battle reports, but I set up this particular table just to kind of see. This is like a lot of Cities of Death stuff. I've been collecting quite a bit of that and kind of adding on to that vibe. It's the older stuff. But I decided, I saw a video, and man, I'm sorry, but I can't remember the name of the guy's channel. But I saw his take on doing billboards, and I thought that was an awesome idea. So that's what I decided to do here. I made some billboards. So I found some fun things that I think fit the 40K environment. Some are a little funnier than others. Of course, we got Fallout and Brondo, and what wouldn't it be with, I don't know, Bay Sign here and there. So that's the stuff I'm gonna make billboards of today. So I started doing some cutting and getting it on the table, and of course I collected some plastic pieces over the time to go ahead and do this. They look like trellis type things or whatever, I don't know what you would call them, supports for 40K buildings. But just driving around looking at billboards, this is what it looked like. So I picked a couple different scales of them and decided to cut the other stuff out of plastic card. And there's probably a better way to do this, but this is the way I decided to do it. I just kind of shaped them to size, put a little bit of an angle on them, and then I decided to glue them up. I have some that are vertical, some that are horizontal, and so that definitely makes a difference. And I also will say I shouldn't have been cutting this on my regular assembly painting table, because it's really wiggly when you're cutting back and forth with that little saw. So if you're going to be doing this, I would recommend picking a firmer surface. Next time if I do any more of these, I'm going to do them in the garage on the workbench, or do my other workbench in the basement. But this one is just kind of a normal fold-out picnic table type thing that I use for assembly, and yeah, it definitely wiggled a little bit too much for my taste. So I went through and I cleaned off the mold lines off of the plastic pieces, because of course, no matter what you're working on, you should clean it up, make it look good. It takes away the immersion if you get mold lines and things like that on there, in my opinion, even if you're going to rust it up or do other things to it. So I'm looking for other suggestions from you guys to what would jazz up the 40K tables. One of the things I want to do is spotlights. I saw that in an Apocalypse video that I had been watching. They did a whole series on Apocalypse table, and one of the things they had in there was a spotlight. Spotlights on the buildings. I thought that was pretty cool. They used some 3D prints and then put little flashlights inside of them to kind of put them at the different sides of the buildings and underneath bridges and things like that. So definitely going to do that. But what are some other things that you guys would like to see on a 40K table? And just a regular one and or Apocalypse. Doesn't have to be just a regular 40K table. But if you can comment down below and just kind of give me some ideas, I would appreciate that. But here we go on the next part of the project here. So I dug out the Cities of Death lights and supports that I had. I have a whole bag of them that I've been adding on to different parts of the buildings as I've been adding to my Cities of Death collection. So I decided to put some of those shining up on the billboards and use the supports on the back of it. And then now here we go into the painting phase. So my mixture of Nuln Oil, if you had seen a previous video I'd done on that, rather than use GW's Nuln Oil, which is crazy expensive for large terrain projects, I decided to make my own. It's just floor wax, and then you just kind of mix in whatever kind of grody color you want. But this one here in particular, I mixed in like a purple and some black inks and stuff to get it really close to Nuln Oil. So I just wash that all over everything and just keep it from puddling. That's all I did, just wash it all over the whole thing. Then you got to let it dry completely. Don't put it on the flat surface underneath where you're going to put the stickers though, because if you do that they won't stick as well. So try to keep it off of that as much as possible. And then here are some examples of what they look like completed. I think they look pretty awesome. I'm going to rough them up a little bit and do some weathering on it. But before I get that far, these are the three colors that I use to paint the metal with. And then here they are. This is what they look like on the table. I definitely think this is an improvement to the table. Gives a little better vibe. I did not rough them up here in this picture just yet. I got to find my weathering pigments. I still haven't unearthed them from our move. But like I said, I can walk up and down the aisles now and find them. So like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, join the Horde, and we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for coming along on the journey.